Hello and welcome to Chesapeake Weekly Home Edition. Well, school is back in session. For right now, it's virtual, but how long will that last? Lots of questions around schooling and how it's being worked out in this age of COVID. So Mayor Rick West sat down with Superintendent Dr. Jared Cotton recently in one of his latest episodes of the Mayor's Emergency Response Roundtable. And they really got into all that has gone into planning for this new school year and what we can expect from it. So for all the back to school details, we're going to bring you a clip from that episode. Take a look.
So our families had those two options. They were able to select from whether in person, whatever that looks like, whether it's blended or 5 days a week. And then we had families who had the choice to choose 100% online. And we asked our families to commit to a whole semester at least for the 100% online for the first semester. And the reason that's important is because we have to plan out our staffing and our resources. And the fortunate thing that has occurred is as we've gotten hard numbers, with families that have selected either option, roughly 60% of our families selected the on-campus option. And especially when we're looking at our high-need student groups, like our special education students, our English language learners, and our early learners, our primary students, our pre-K through third grade in particular, we were able to determine that we could space our students out in our school buildings. And instead of doing the blended, now keep in mind the whole reason for the blended option was so that we would only bring half of the on-campus students in at a time. And that was really based on numbers. But now that we have exact numbers of students and families who selected the in-person option, and we've done assessments of our buildings, we felt we could bring the students back 5 days a week because we have ample space to spread them out throughout the building so that we could create physical distancing for our students. So that's where we got to that point. Plus, we also understand that what a nightmare it is for our families to do a 2-day-a-week schedule, 3 days at home, 2 days at school, and all that's involved in that. Of course, that wasn't the primary reason for us looking at the 5 days seriously, but we felt like if we could make 5 days happen, we had to really try to do that because we also know it's important for our students to have that time in person to receive instruction.
You can watch the rest of that episode on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Chesapeake Television, where you will also find all of those previous episodes. Well, the November election is just 8 weeks away, and the Chesapeake Voter Registrar's office has been working non-stop. Really, they've been working non-stop all year. Quick break here to give a shout out to our voter registrar and her entire team. I went over there to her offices recently to get all the details on what voting's going to look like for this November election because there are some new things. So take a look at this interview I did with her. She gives us all the details. Marilyn, thanks for chatting with us. You guys have had your hands full in 2020. Some new stuff coming up for the November election, early voting.
Yes.
Walk me through what that means and what that's going to entail.
Sure, absolutely. I'd love to. Things are completely different. Of course, we knew this was going to be a wild year. Did not quite see all this coming along, but we're making do. We were already going to have early voting. It passed legislation, and as of July 1st, we have early voting in Virginia. We've never had it before. In the past, you had to fill out an absentee ballot application to vote by mail or in person before Election Day. Now, you do not have to fill out a form before you vote in person. That's what our early voting is called, the in-person voting, and you don't have to have an excuse. You don't have to come just to our office. We've set up 6 satellite locations throughout the city. We have 1 in each zip code, so we're real proud to be able to serve everybody close to home, keep them all close to home, and do it for 45 days, which is unheard of for around here. Most people are doing it a couple weeks, but we stretched it out thanks to our wonderful Chesapeake libraries partnering with us. And we're able to have 6 satellite locations for the full 45 days.
So early voting, even though it was going to happen anyway,
right,
is really truly answering a lot of the fears and questions and concerns people have about Election Day with that lines out the door. We know presidential election draws the crowds.
Sure.
So what are you suggesting to people as far as when they should go to vote? I mean, if everybody goes on the first day,
Right.
of course.
We're getting a lot of calls, and it sounds like,
Everyone's
a lot
excited.
of people want to go the first day.
Sure.
We would suggest that you don't rush out September 18th. It's going to be a little busy that day with all the excitement. But I would suggest around probably early to mid-October, and maybe just drive by the library, see if it looks busy. If you're just out and about, you don't have to go to the library within your zip code. Any of the Chesapeake libraries will have all ballot styles for all the different precincts there.
Now, is that going to be available whenever libraries are open?
No, we have done it so that we work with the library so to not inconvenience them and their
Sure.
hours. Plus, of course, we've got, extra cleaning going on right now with the COVID. So we'll be there Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then the last 2 Saturdays before the election, which is October the 24th as well as October 31st, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that October 31st is the last day for early voting before Election Day.
So the option after that is you got to come in on Tuesday.
Right.
On
that's
Election
it.
Day.
Okay. And you have to go to your precinct that day.
Oh, okay.
While during early voting, you can go to any of the satellites and get your ballot. On Election Day, you still have to go to your precinct and get your ballot there.
So what is Election Day going to look like? Is it going to sort of look like what we expect? You go to your
I
precinct?
think it's going to be a whole lot better. I don't
Okay.
think you're going to see the long lines we're used to for presidential. I think this was a blessing in disguise
Yes.
when it happened. I think we're going to see pretty even between voting by mail, early voting, and Election Day. I think it's going to be really spread out throughout the 3 ways of voting.
So you mentioned voting by mail. In the
Yes.
May election, we really pushed that. That was really the height of COVID, and we were trying to not have people congregating in public
Right.
spaces. Now with the early voting, what is by mail voting even for? Who is that for at this
It's
point?
still for those who are just not comfortable getting out during COVID. I mean, there's still plenty of people that are, immune compromised and just are not comfortable going out right now. And then also those away at college still. That was always a big vote by mail for the absentee. Military, anybody who just prefers to vote in the comfort of their own home. And they can do it. You still have to fill out a form for that, but you don't have to have an excuse anymore. Anybody can do it. It's no excuse voting by mail.
Now, we hear a lot in the news around the country. Every state does voting differently. We've
Yes.
heard about states that send ballots automatically to everybody.
Right.
Do we do that?
We do not do that in Virginia. You have to submit that application in order to get that ballot by mail. There has been some confusion. A lot of third parties are mailing the the vote by mail applications to people's homes who haven't necessarily requested it. They can still use that application and mail it to us. Just make sure it's coming to our office, 411 Cedar Road.
Okay.
But you can use those. But it has caused a lot of panic amongst the citizens
Sure.
because they think they have to vote by mail because they have that application. But that's not the case.
So you have to apply if you're going to do it in mail, and then you have to mail it back here so that it gets here when?
We have to have all of those applications in no later than October 23rd.
Okay.
We definitely want you to do it as early as possible. You can submit that application through email, fax, mail. You can drop it off. We have a drop box in the parking lot. If you're driving home at night and want to just slip it in there, we'll get it the next day.
Okay, so that's another answer to some of the concerns. If you're concerned, if you put it into your mailbox that it will not reach here in time or at the right location, just drive on by and pop it in the secure box.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's so many options available right now. We've really tried to help as many of the voters as we possibly could.
You guys have worked endlessly, and we're so appreciative
Thank
to you
you.
and your staff. We'll make sure that all the deadlines, all the dates are
Perfect.
available on our show and on the website. Marilyn, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And just like with everything these days, the position of officer of election might look a little bit different in light of some COVID-19 needs and regulations and such. But one thing has certainly remained the same. It's that this position is desperately needed. Now, officer of election, also known as poll worker, the good thing, it is also still a paid position. So a little incentive for you to get out there and help our voter registrar's office. Keith Hayward with the office gave me some additional information on what it's going to be like come November to be an officer of election. Take a look.
Those of you that would like to become an officer of election, just send me an email. It's khayward, HEYWARD, at cityofchesapeake.net. Most of the things that we do is via email. I communicate through email. I'm working with upwards of 700 people, so I can't take the phone calls, but I'm always going to get my email. I'm one of those people that don't like any email inside of my box, so I keep it clean at all times, and we'll do our best. There are PPEs. We're going to make sure you have masks. We're going to make sure you have gloves. There are going to be hand sanitizers, everything that you need, because your safety is important. One of the good things is that we went through the May election. That was the height of the season, and no one got sick, so it worked out very well. And we just also ask the public, when you're coming in to vote early, just be mindful and know what's going on, know how the lines are working so that you're not bombarding the system. Everyone running to the polls on Friday, September 18th, that's just going to be expect to wait. Yeah. But the early voting is good because hopefully when election day comes, most of the state have already voted early.
Shifting gears a little bit now, when it comes to needing help in an emergency, city boundaries mean absolutely nothing to those in need of help. And thankfully, they mean nothing to our first responders either. We have been working on mutual aid with our neighboring cities to make sure that everybody who needs help gets it in the fastest time possible. And now our friends to the west, Suffolk, are joining that mutual aid, so we know that everybody all over Chesapeake will be properly covered. Take a look.
So for decades we've had what's called mutual aid, and that's if we need each other, we call each other, and we've always had that partnership. What automatic aid does is it incorporates it into a system approach, is that when the call is dispatched, when a citizen needs assistance, it really doesn't matter which side of the boundary that the closest emergency equipment is on. The dispatch goes out and it's dispatched to send the closest trucks, whether they be from Suffolk or Chesapeake, so they get the quickest service and the quickest number of people on the scene for that service.
Oh, it's great. We started on August 6th, and we gave it about a month period to see how it played out, and anything that occur administratively or operationally, it's worked seamlessly. We've utilized it 17 times. We're integrating on the fire ground and on the incident scene very well, and we just can't tell you how great it's been over the last month. We've trained together. We go through the same fire academies. Now we train more often with our neighboring cities. We train on the weekends. We have dinner and lunch together. We talk operations. And the grounds are just very, very, very fluid right now, and the citizens are just very, very much benefiting from what we're doing.
You know, North Suffolk has a huge growth volume here, and we see more and more need, and so, of course, does Western Branch. So I just feel like, you know, this is something that, like I said, our firefighters have known it for a long time. They've done it for us, and now we've made it official.
And while we're talking emergencies, your weekly tip during Preparedness Month, get your kit ready. Now, really, you should already have one started. So if you do, jump in there, take a look at all your items, get rid of anything that might not be useful to you anymore, or maybe some food that's expired. Spruce it up a little bit because we are in the height of hurricane season. If you don't have one, now is totally the time to make one. So you want to keep in mind that your kit should last you for at least 3 days. So think about what would happen if a big storm blew through, we lost power, you couldn't leave your house, you had to be self-sustaining for at least 3 days. What would you need? So the obvious food, water, medication that can last you and everybody in your family, in your household for 3 days. Don't forget about those pets. And also don't forget a can opener. You don't want to have a bunch of canned food that then you can't get into. So one of those manual can openers. Other things you might want to have in there: flashlights with extra batteries, portable phone chargers, a first aid kit, and of course these days you got to have hand sanitizer and extra face masks. So for a complete list of what should be in your kit, visit ready.gov/kit. And for this week's Chesapeake Cares video, we're celebrating parks, recreation, and tourism. They have been absolutely unstoppable throughout all of this with their transition from the usual in-person programs and activities to all online, all virtual. And you know there's a bunch of Parks and Recs folks over there just dying to get back to those in-person activities because they love it. But they have kept it safe and they have kept it really accessible for everybody. Done a great job responding to and continuing to serve during COVID-19. So our Karen Myers from Chesapeake Television got to sit down with Parks and Rec's Thurman Diamond to talk a little bit about all of this virtual programming that they've been able to do.
So we in Chesapeake, we have decided in Parks and Rec to try our best to do many different types of virtual programming. So when you go to our website, you'll see that we actually have a virtual programming tab where you'll see some of our community center staff, our instructional staff, some of our office staff. They've all gotten together, seniors and all therapeutics. They've all gotten together and they've come up with different weekly activities from when we were first in the pandemic. And so we have those saved and shared so people can view and make sure that they are enjoying them. So right now we're doing our crew club and teen time from our therapeutic programs. Our seniors are actually doing a Zoom bingo, and they would normally do a informational series that they would have the seniors get together, and they've recently started putting that online as well. We just did one with the sheriff and his major, David Rosado, about safety in the senior community. So any type of special need that you might have, this particular division will work with you. So you could have a physical disability. It could be mental. There are different levels that they are there, but our TR unit actually gets together. We call them TR for therapeutic recreation. They all get together, and we have a wonderful therapeutic recreation specialist that works with everyone, and she's absolutely wonderful. We love Melody to death. But our unit it specifies for that population. Our seniors, it's so funny, as they're doing Zoom bingo, it gives them something to do, because being that they are a high-risk population, we've tried not to gather them together as much, basically, and they are loving it, and they're winning prizes. We actually have it so that after so many games, we'll let them come by our Rokeby Center, which we use as our center focusing on seniors, and they'll do a drive-through basically and can come and pick up their items. It's actually really cute. They're so excited. We give them little tchotchkes and bingo. So it's nothing much, but it's just something to get them out. We schedule a time. They come in like one at a time. So it's really cute that they get to, pick through everything and have their fun. So yes, no, they are enjoying it. Our TR unit is even enjoying it because they're getting a chance to see them interact on a different level.
Thank you to Thurman and everybody else in the Parks, Rec, and Tourism Department for everything they've done to continue to serve our community. Well, that does it for this week's edition of Chesapeake Weekly. I'll see you right back here next week in the city that cares.
We head to the polls on Election Day, Tuesday, November 3rd. However, all registered voters are eligible to vote absentee if they choose. You must request your ballot by October 23rd to receive it in the mail. Then return it to the voter registrar's office by 7 p.m. on Election Day. Learn more at cityofchesapeake.net/vote.